How about the Carolina Panthers absolutely destroying the Las Vegas Raiders? It was 36-22, but when you watch this game, it was just an absolute beatdown. And you want to know what's so funny about this win for Carolina? You know, when Bryce Young got benched, the media was saying how the Carolina Panthers set Bryce Young up to fail. He ain't have no weapons. He ain't got no receivers. He ain't got no offensive line. Well, isn't it funny how now, with Andy Dalton at the helm at quarterback for the Panthers, they all of a sudden got weapons? Deontay Johnson was going off 122 receiving yards, 8 receptions for a touchdown. Chuba Hubbard couldn't be stopped at anything on the ground. He had over 100. He was a force in the passing game. This was Carolina's best game that they played in pretty much 2 years. And Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, was letting out shots against the Las Vegas Raiders. 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Panthers look like a competent team with Andy Dalton at the helm at quarterback. And the national media owes Carolina an apology because they put all of Bryce Young's struggles on the team not being good, but all of a sudden they make this quarterback change and they're beating the hell out of a team that just beat the Ravens last week. You know, Andy Dalton, although he is a backup quarterback at this point in his career, he can be elevated to a higher level than expected because of how good of an offensive mind Dave Canales is. Even though this is a one-off performance, he may not be able to continue this level of play for the rest of this season. You're not going to see Andy Dalton play any worse than what Bryce Young did. You know, Carolina has a head coach that was responsible for the resurgence of Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith in back-to-back years. I refuse to believe that this dude isn't a good football coach. You know, and that's why I never felt like the Panthers were a bad situation for Bryce this year. Last year, you could make that argument, but this year, all of the weapons that they brought during the offseason to help him succeed, you saw Andy Dalton thriving with those guys on the field. He threw a dime to Adam Thielen for a touchdown. He got injured, but everybody had a chance to showcase their abilities. Even Xavier Legette had a few moments when he flashed in the pan because of Andy Dalton at quarterback. It's funny how different your team can look when you get some actual good quarterback play. The defense looked really nice, man. I mean, I thought that the Panthers had the worst defense in football after how bad they played the first 2 weeks. And I know that when you got an ineffective offense, that does you no favors. And they even had a few plays against the Raiders that, you know, they gave up some big passing yards. They gave us some big passing plays. But for the most part, with how good this offense was, their defense didn't have to be on the field for the amount of plays that they were when Bryce Young was at the helm. And what's funny is, I know nobody's going to talk about how good Andy Dalton was because nobody wants to admit the truth about Bryce Young, which is he is a bust. He can't play. It doesn't matter where you trade him to. He can't see in the middle of the field. You got to design the offense that's just so dumbed down and simplistic to help Bryce Young succeed at this level. And Bryce Young isn't a good quarterback. This dude has to be rebuilt and developed from the ground up. His footwork isn't good. His accuracy, his mechanics are off whack. Andy Dalton showed the day that Bryce Young was the problem. The Carolina Panthers, as dysfunctional as what they are, it was a reason why they moved on from this brother so fast because guys were frustrated. You couldn't evaluate the team with how bad Bryce Young was. They were struggling to get the ball past the 50-yard line. So it's no surprise that this team played as good as what they did against the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that really isn't that good themselves. They got their own quarterback issues going on over there. Andy Dalton, you can say that he still is a backup caliber quarterback all you want to, but with some of these backup guys, they've shown that if you plug them into the right system with the right head coach that actually knows offense, you can get a lot of juice out of these dudes. Look at Sam Darnold right now. This dude is playing at an MVP level. You mean to tell me that Dave Canales, who helped resurrect Geno and Baker, can't end up getting a little bit left out of the tank in the Red Rifle? Come on now. The Panthers got a good squad, and they showed it this afternoon against the Raiders. The Raiders may not be a good team, but they got a damn good defense. So for them to get this win, means everything for them, because that still means that they got a lot of football left and they got a reason to not tank and throw in the season. There were Panthers fans that were already talking about what quarterback are they going to draft in next year's draft. You know, you're still going to have those conversations, but right now you can kind of put those to the back burners and talk about the team that you have this year, because I still like your chances to win this division. I don't care what y'all tell me about how devoid of talent the Panthers are. Like, they got a decent enough team. With the lack of good coaching in this division, they can win this thing. Atlanta's 1-2, they're 1-2. The Saints are 2-1. You know, you're still well within reach to be able to turn your season around. And we've seen a lot of crazy resurrection stories at quarterback over these last couple of years. Like, if Joe Flacco can come off the couch and lead the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs, you got Geno Smith coming out of nowhere and looking like a good quarterback. You mean to tell me that Andy Dalton can't make one last run and the last end of his career and help Carolina make it to the playoffs in the weakest division in the NFL? I mean, come on, man. We got stories like this every year in the NFL. You got some washed dude that comes out of nowhere and he plays some serviceable football. Carolina got some weapons, and you've seen it today. And what's even scarier is that they didn't even get Jonathan Brooks back. That brother is a beast. You know, I can't wait to see him come back off that injury, man, because once they get him rolling and you got that 2 running back system going with him and Chuba Hubbard, Carolina's going to be a scary team. I'm trying to tell y'all, man. Like, Andy Dalton ain't going to be balling out like this every week, but he's going to keep the Carolina Panthers in games. And that's all you really can ask for if you're a Panthers fan, man, because your expectations weren't that high coming in to this season to begin with. You just want to watch a Carolina Panthers game and not feel like you're being tortured because the game is already over at halftime. You want to see a competitive football team. You can respect that. It gives you a reason to tune in. And with Andy Dalton, the Panthers actually have some hope now. You seen how those guys on the sidelines were dapping them up. They were rallying behind them. You know, like, don't be surprised if you see Andy Dalton and Carolina turn their season around and they shock the world and they end up being right in the thick of things to win this division, because it's not as good as what a lot of y'all think.